How to build a pitch deck that gets you investment money.
Take effing action, put it together, and subscribe to Tom Penn's channel on YouTube now. Yeah, I like it. It's crazy.
Congratulations. So you've decided to get investment money to fund your business idea or your company or your team or your project. If you haven't seen my video about 9 different ways to find the fucking money, please do so. It's in my channel. Find that video and I will tell you about the 9 different ways to get the fucking money to fund your business. Today, we're going to talk about building a pitch deck that you can send to angels or venture capitalists so that they will be interested in your project and give you money. So what is a pitch deck? The pitch deck is the most important document that you produce to present to the investor. Before the investor looks at your financial statements, before they look at your balance sheet, before they even look at you, the first thing that they want to see is a pitch deck. And very often they will ask you for it. Do you have a pitch deck? Can you send me your pitch deck? Right? So if you don't have a pitch deck, then you can't really continue that conversation. That is always the first thing that they ask you. So you need to build your pitch deck. And today we're going to talk about how to build great pitch decks that, will get investment interest and lend you the money that you need to build a bigger and greater business. I'm going to start with this. This is the pitch deck template that Sequoia Capital gives to entrepreneurs and startup founders. So basically, they say to them, if you want our money, then look at this template, build your pitch deck according to this template, right? It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but follow this formula, right? A little bit about Sequoia Capital. Sequoia Capital is one of the largest investment firms in the world. I believe, and you can look this up, Sequoia Capital has invested in companies over the years, and those companies have accumulated a valuation of about $1.4 trillion. I'm not talking about billion, I'm talking about trillion, right? Again, I don't even know how much Vietnamese dong that is. It is a massive number. Obviously, this is a very large and successful investment firm. So obviously, it probably is a good idea to look at what they want to see in a pitch deck, right? So I'm going to go over that with you today. This is the general flow of a pitch deck. So first, you have a company purpose. It's like a one-line statement. What does your company do? Like, why are you here? What's your mission statement? What do you want to do here, right? Why does your company exist, right? And then you're going to talk about the problem. Right? What problem are you trying to solve? And then you're going to talk about the solution. How are you going to solve that problem, right? And then why now? Because business is a lot about timing, right? Timing is very important in business. You want to talk about market size. You want to talk about your competition. You want to talk about your product. You want to talk about your business model. You want to talk about your team. You want to talk about your financials. Let's go through each one. So first one is company purpose, right? So you want to tell them in a very short sentence, why are you here? For example, we're here to help sellers sell more. We're here to build a better real estate transaction system. We're here to make drivers safer. We're here to make education better for students. Whatever it is, you put down your purpose, why you're here, right? That is your first slide. And then you're going to talk about the problem, right? So maybe the problem is, the traffic situation in Ho Chi Minh City is terrible. Or it could be a lot of sellers need to go online to expand their business, but they don't know how. Or it could be, the hospital system today needs better processes and systems so that they can better take care of patients. Whatever it is, right? You put the problem here, right? And the key point here is that the problem has to be believable, right? If you tell the investors a problem that they don't believe in, it's not a problem, what are you talking about? Then you lost them right there. They won't even finish the pitch deck, right? The problem has to be real and the investor has to believe that it's real. Otherwise, your pitch deck is dead right here. Okay? And next, you have to talk about your solution. So how is your solution going to make people's lives better? How is your solution going to change the world? How is your solution going to make a lot of people money? I don't know, right? But here is the solution statement. How you're gonna fix the problem you just talked about. And why now? Because timing is important in business. I can tell you a little story. You know, YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. YouTube. When it was launched, it became very successful. But YouTube was not the first video service on the internet. As a matter of fact, I was involved in one before YouTube. I won't talk about it, but that venture was not as successful because the timing was wrong. Because back then, broadband internet was not widely available. Most people are still on very slow dial-up internet connection. So video services did not take off until a certain time in history, and YouTube launched at the right time. So timing is very important in business, and here you want to talk about why your timing is impeccable, why you launched this solution to the problem and you launched it in the right time. So once you tell the investor problem, solution, and your timing, and they believe you, and they think, wow, such a great idea, the next thing you need to tell them is how your idea is going to help them make a lot of money. Because investors are not investing their money in you because they like you, or they think you're pretty, or they think you're a nice person. No, not at all. They want return on their money. So they want to know how much money they're going to make out of it. And you start with the market size. So you want to tell the investor how big the market is. Is it going to affect 1 million people, 10 million people, 100 million people? Is it 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, right? How big is the market? And you want to calculate your total available market, your service available market, and your service obtainable market. Let me explain a little bit about each one. Total available market is the overall size of the market, right? So if you're doing e-commerce in Vietnam, for example, the total available market may be like $50 billion annually. I don't know, I made up that number, but my point is that you have to find out what the size of the market is, right? And then the service available market is how much of that market you're going to address. Because you cannot address all of the market. You can only address a portion of the market, okay? So for example, you're launching Grab, okay? Maybe your total market is Southeast Asia, but maybe your service available market is only in Singapore and Vietnam because you only start in those markets. So that's an example of service available market. You only address a small portion of that market. So finally, service obtainable market is how much of that market you will capture. How much of the service available market you will capture. So maybe you think that you will capture 10% of that market, right? It generally is not 100%. Maybe you get 10%, maybe you get 5%, maybe you get 40%, whatever it is. You do an estimation, you do a prediction, how much of that market you will acquire. You do want to talk about your competition in the next slide. Right? So you list out your competition, right? Who's in the same space as you. But not only that, you want to talk about how you're better than your competition, right? So you do want to talk about your advantages, right? What is your unique selling point? How is your solution better than the competition? Next, you want to do a product demo. If it's a physical product, you want to show it to them. If it's an online product, if it's a technology product, you can do a product demo. But be very careful with this because, make sure your servers are running when you do a demo because you don't want to do a demo and your server goes down and then you have a terrible demo with investor, right? Generally, it's best to do a recording of the product demo. You don't want to do live because when you do live, Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So there's just a lot more you need to prepare for when you do a live demo. And in this slide, you can also talk about the development roadmap because you never have a perfect product. You'll never, ever, ever have a perfect product. You're always refining it, improving it, adding more things to it, right? So you want to tell your investors, like, in this month, I'm going to build this. In the next quarter, I'm going to build this. In the next year, I'm going to build that. So you're going to give them an idea where you're taking the product. Next slide, you want to talk about business model, right? You want to talk about the revenue model, how you're going to make money, right? It could be commission-based. If buyer seller make a transaction, we make a commission, or it could be subscription-based, like people pay by month, by year, by quarter, whatever, right? So you have to clearly tell the investor how you're going to make money. Because if you can't explain that, then they won't believe this thing will make money. And then they will back off, right? Tell them about your revenue model. Tell them about your pricing, how much you're going to charge for your services and products. You're going to talk about your customer size and the customer lifetime value. So generally, customers don't just buy from you one time. They will come back and buy from you again and again. So you need to predict, like, how often will they come back and buy from you? And what is the total lifetime value of each customer? You also want to talk about sales and distribution model. So if you have a supply chain, who's your distributor, wholesaler, retailer, you can talk about that here. And if you are a B2B focused business product, then you can talk about customer and pipeline, right? So which customers are you already targeting? Which customer, you can give them a list of customers that you plan to target and close. And the next slide, you can talk about teams, right? So this is where you talk about the founder, the management team. I know that a lot of startups, a lot of businesses, they have board of advisors. They go out and find like high profile, famous people to be on their board of advisors or even board of directors. And this is where you can show that off. Hey, look, I have, Mark Zuckerberg as part of our board of advisors. That would be really cool, right? So if you have famous people in your board, this is where you show this off. So finally, in your pitch deck, you want to talk about financials, right? Profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, and the deal. I'll give you a tip here, right? You don't really need to put like profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow here, right? Really, all you need to put here is the deal, right? Because usually you don't talk about balance sheet, cash flow, PL until you know for sure the investor is interested. If they're not interested, they're not gonna look at the stuff, right? You just need to tell them the deal. What is the deal? The deal is this: I want $5 million and I will give you 20% of the equity. That's the deal, right? You tell them what you want and what you will give. That's it. That's all you have to say in this slide, right? And if they go through your slide, they go through your presentation, everything was good, they believe in the problem, they believe in the solution, they believe in the timing, they believe in the market size, they think you're really cool, and they believe you have the executional ability to pull this off, then they look at the deal, they like it, and then they will ask you about balance sheet, PL, and cash flow, right? So usually that's the next step. You don't need to put it here. So this is going to be another long video. I want to show you some really good pitch decks from Facebook, from Uber, that landed them big investments and they go out and build these huge businesses, right? I want to show you just a couple slides. I know this is a long video, but I think this is worth your time. There we go. So I want to show you a couple pitch decks that landed big investments and eventually they went on to build very big companies like Facebook. This is the Facebook original pitch deck. So this was presented back in spring 2004. This is the pitch deck from Mark Zuckerberg and his original very small team. I will not go too deep into each slide because we simply don't have time, but I want you to understand the general structure of the pitch deck. And you can actually find this on the internet, so you can actually go through the details yourself. So it starts with a quotation from newspaper, right? So it talks about a problem about classes and work and students. And the next slide is the solution. What is the Facebook.com? Back then, it wasn't called Facebook. It was called the Facebook, right? So it tells you what the Facebook is and what solution they're providing. They talk about feature, what a user profile looks like, and it continues to talk about social networking. So originally, Facebook is about networking students across different schools. totally different now, but that was the original idea, to connect students across schools, right? And then they talk about school networking, the expansion. Here they talk about traction. So they're saying that Harvard joined them, and there's a whole list of schools, Harvard, Columbia, Yale, Dartmouth, they all joined the Facebook, showing traction that this platform is popular with students and universities. And more schools are joining them, and their expansion plan. So they're gonna have 200 member schools by September 2004. Who are the target audience? They're students, right? So 50 million college students in the United States, and they have spending power of about $85 billion, right? Market size. They're talking about the market size here. And they talk about market size, more market size, and monthly traffic. And here they have another quotation from a newspaper. Basically says Facebook is addictive. And it is. Facebook is addictive. That's why you should get off it. Because it's a time waster. It will waste all of your time and you become a fucking loser. It talks about user growth, right? How fast they're growing. And it talks about how they're gonna make money. So this is the revenue model. Online marketing services, right? They're gonna do advertising. This is back in 2004, they're already thinking about this. How they're gonna do advertising and how much they're gonna charge for the advertising, the price. And if you're interested in Facebook back in 2004, talk to Eduardo, this guy right there. He's the CFO of Facebook.com. And if you watch the movie Social Network, you know who he is. He got royally screwed by Mark Zuckerberg. A very sad story for him. Mark is not a nice guy. Mark is evil, like all true leaders are. Mark is a fucking asshole, and he fucking screwed him. Look up the story, it's all on the internet, it's in the movie, it's true story. But he was the guy that you talk to if you want to invest in Facebook. I know we don't have time, but let's do one more. Okay, let's do one really quick one. This is Uber. Uber is not in Vietnam anymore. For those people that remember, Uber was in Vietnam. They used to be a global ride-sharing company. They're still very, very big in North America and other markets. They launched this in 2008. Look at the iPhone there. Look at the BlackBerry. You can see how old this slide is, right? Look at, this is a 2008 Mercedes S500, I think, right? So I have a car just like that. And first slide, Uber cab, it talks about what they are. Next generation car service. That's what they are, right? And then problem, cabs in 2008, taxis in 2008. These are all the problems with taxis, right? And then there's a problem with the medallion system. I don't get into what that is, but it's ridiculous, right? This is all problems. And Uber is gonna solve all those problems. It's gonna provide fast and efficient on-demand car service. It's gonna be professional. It's gonna be luxury service, right? And basically one click, you get a car come to your door. Now we think this is normal, but back in 2008, this is a fucking crazy idea, right? And key differentiator, how does the service differentiate against taxi services, right? It's members only, one-click hailing, it's fast response, it's just so much better than regular taxis. And their operating principles, here they show the product. There's a little bit of product demo here, and more product demo, and it talks about benefits, how people will benefit from the service, right? And also talk about environmental benefit, because when Uber becomes popular, there's better use of cars. You don't have to put so many cars on the street to move people around. You can optimize that, and you can save the environment because you're not burning more fuel, right? Also, you can use more hybrid cars, meaning that you're also burning less fuel. These are environmental benefits to Uber. It talks about their plan, right? They're gonna start with San Francisco and then move to New York. As they're gonna start in those two markets. Here it talks about technology, how smartphones will help in their application of the solution. And one of the things they talk about here is that they can forecast demand. For example, they know how many people will need cars where and when, right? So they can make predictions and then they can optimize. And here they talk about the market size, right? Overall market is $4.2 billion annually and growing. And I can tell you they totally underestimate this because Uber today is a massive, massive, massive company. There are hundreds of millions of dollars, and the numbers here is underestimated. Potential outcome, I like this slide because they actually tell the investor, like if things don't go as well, the worst case scenario is this, okay? And the realistic scenario is that, okay? But if everything goes really well, the best case scenario is that. The best case scenario is become market leader, $1 billion plus in yearly revenue. Again, they underestimated this. Today, I think their revenue numbers are massive, like significantly higher than this. They do talk about smartphone use back in 2008. Back in 2008, not everybody had smartphones, not even in North America, so they had to have this slide. And here, they talk about future plans, how they're gonna optimize their business in the future. As you can see, those are the slides that helped Facebook and Uber, those initial teams, lend investment money so that they can go build a really massive business in the future, right? So use the information that I've provided today. So now you know how to structure your pitch deck and what you need to put into your pitch deck. So start putting that together. So start talking to angels and venture capitalists and lend some fucking money so that you can go build your fucking business. Don't be a fucktard and take fucking action.